welcome everybody to our, I don't actually know how many we had, but we already had quite a lot, to our October session. Today's host is Ursula Brasch. She studied sinology, history and politics in Germany. And she's a long-time training analyst and supervisor at the Jung Institute at Jung Institutes in Zurich and Stuttgart, as well as a member of the board at the Jung Institute in Zurich. Today, she will talk about the I Ching, the Book of Changes. And as a couple of you might know, the I Ching is an old Chinese wisdom book which contains valuable knowledge gained over many centuries or millennia, one can say. And in this way, a tradition full of living psychological and spiritual wisdom has been created. And obviously, Jung tried to mine that spiritual wisdom and psychological knowledge. And when Richard Wilhelm translated the I Ching into German, then he immediately got onto it. And there's a connection between a very famous Jungian aspect, which is synchronicity. And for him, the I Ching, or the throwing of the yarrow stalks, is a typical synchronistic experience. And not only that, one can interpret each stalk as an element of a constellation, in family constellation, for instance. And these stalks represent elements of a system, the so-called representatives. And both aspects, as far as I know, Ursula is doing in her therapeutic work. So with that, I hand over to her and ask Ursula to give a talk.
So thank you very much, Bernhard, for this introduction and presenting me to the group. Welcome to the group. Thank you for joining this hour with us about the I Ching. Well, I will immediately jump in because 30 minutes are more than nothing for explaining the I Ching. And so I was thinking about how can I give you such a quick introduction to what the I Ching is. And I thought I would like to start to come from the concept of the so-called Junzi. The Junzi is an expression that is a very important expression in Chinese philosophy and in Confucian philosophy. And when you translate it, it's the expression and idea of the so-called noble man. And this, of course, is not a story about an aristocratic person. It's about the ego, and especially the active ego, which is represented through the I, das Ich in German. And this means how the Paul, now happens something. Okay, so there
I'm
is.
sorry, I've been. Is that working now?
Yeah, I saw people suddenly on the head and nothing. So, and this is irritating. So better.
By the way, everyone, do you mind commenting in chat? Does this look all right? Because it seems slightly different than the usual.
Everything is fine.
Great.
Okay, good. So it is about an understanding of the ego and an active ego. The German word for this active ego would be much more better, the I, das Ich. And it's about how this ego, this active ego, is developing throughout life, the life process. And this means in the I Ching, there is specifically the description about an individuation process. And this is related to the concept of the Junzi, which is the noble man. So it's not at all, when we sometimes read these translations, this traditional meaning of a superior person and that is acting and dealing with inferior people. It's about, in a psychological sense, how to develop a capacity that allows a person to manage specific situations in a better way. So the I Ching is really a book you can use to do an active individuation process. And this is because the I Ching is working on several levels. One aspect is that you really find there the philosophy of the complementary opposites. And as Jungians, we know this is the basic idea of Jungian psychology. This is the idea of the shadow concept. And this is the idea of what is necessary to even go into the personal growth. And the I Ching is also, since it is working with Yin and Yang lines, related to how this tension works and how you start to develop being in this tension. So this is something very important. And when you ask the I Ching, very often you get an answer that is the answer you wanted to have the less. Yeah, because of course, you ask the I Ching because you are in a situation of, let's say, more or less conflict. Otherwise, you would not ask it. But why are you in a conflict? You are in a conflict because your expectation of a situation is different to what the situation is really presenting to you, or the surrounding is really presenting to you. So this puts you in a conflict, and very often, and this is, let's say, very human and very normal, we ask the I Ching in order to get an answer that we like, that is somehow supporting our idea of understanding. And the I Ching does nothing at all. And it's very often really bringing the shadow, or that aspect that is hidden behind, and that is difficult to grasp and also difficult to accept. So this is one aspect of the I Ching, this working with attention, working with what is neglected or repressed. The other aspect is, and this is quite interesting, the I Ching says, I know everything, and I know I include also everything what is necessary to get to understand life, and I can describe life, and this is something extremely big. But this is also something that makes the wisdom of the book, and how can. And there is something interesting, also historically interesting, since the book is so old. It is really one of the oldest books existing of human being, one of the oldest written books. And the first sources of the book go back to more than 2,500 years before Christ. So there they found the first information about that there is something existing like an oracle that was already systematically collected. And this is so interesting. And the written sources of the book, they started around 700 before Christ, and especially when Confucius, during Confucius' life, he was 550 before Christ, there was already a book existing. And later on, this was also a part of the so-called Chinese classics. They have 7 classic writings, and one of it was the I Ching. And so the specific of this, the specific attribute of the I Ching is that it was like collected, enriched there is a strong culture of commentary, and this happened throughout now, let's say, 4,000 years. This is really something also that is typically for China. And so therefore, there exist a lot of commentaries explaining the I Ching, and this throughout the centuries made the book how we got it today. But there exist much more commentaries also to the book. So, and since it is so old, and since it includes historical knowledge, social knowledge, cultural knowledge, but also observing natural phenomena that are related with nature and how to experience nature, and everything is included, and all this is included in a very associative language. This performed at the end like a symbolic core, and this symbolic core is including all this knowledge that the book pretends to have. And this is why it is also important for us Jungians to, Jungians can get, let's say, the text is very archetypal, somehow cryptic, and sometimes really difficult to get. But from a Jungian approach and Jungian point of view, when you start to understand the meaning of the symbols, it's much more easier to get the meaning. And also, of course, it is like, you know, when you want to decide to describe a situation precisely, it's usually easier to use an image. And this is an important aspect in the I Ching because it includes 64 hexagrams. And these 64 hexagrams are like 64 archetypal situations. And in these 64 hexagrams, these archetypal situations are described, the archetypal situation is deeply defined, let's say like this, with all aspects of development that can be included in this archetypal situation. This sounds now very abstract, and this is also the problem with the book. When you try to read the book, you will never get it. This is really a book you have to experience. You really have to make an experience with this moment of using the coins or throwing the yarrow sticks, having a question before, and then getting an answer that is somehow deeply striking you because you think this fits so much to what I already intuitively perceived about my situation. So this is really the necessary experience you need because reading will not work. And what is so special with the I Ching? Because I said before, it is an oracle. Or originally, it was an oracle. And this is always something difficult because, well, the oracle is about foreseeing what will come, telling about the future. And the I Ching is telling about the future, but it's not telling about the future. And this means the I Ching says, well, what is wise? It is wise to understand a development, an upcoming development in its very first beginning. Yeah. So when you know where the river starts, you know where it will end at the end. Yeah. So, or when you plant an apple tree in your garden, you use the seed of an apple tree. So it's important to know what is in the seed. And so the I Ching is talking about what is at the beginning and how is the potential development. And this is, of course, talking about the future. But it's not a future that is like disconnected. It's like out of the blue. It's really a future that is a consequence of development that you started to put on the road. Yeah, but since we are so often unconscious about what we put on the road, it is as if the I Ching is going to help to understand what you are doing at the beginning. Yeah, and to see the aspects, also those aspects you probably repress or neglect. And So this is the special knowledge of the book, and this is also what is at the end related to the wisdom of the book, because it was throughout all these centuries that specific experiences were included in order to explain specific situations and the archetypal aspects of a specific situation. And there are, of course, archetypal situations. One of it, by example, is the situation when the I Ching talks about the hidden light. Yeah, it's the hexagram number 36. It's Min Yi, the hidden light. And this is a situation about being encapsulated or being captured in a situation where you cannot move forward. And it's also a situation where you are like surrounded by circumstances that put you in a deep crisis, and you cannot change nothing at all. It's not about acting. Yeah, so the I is not active at all, but it's about somehow showing what is the characteristic situation and helping to keep on going, but not with outside acting, but with inside managing this situation whilst being faithful and careful with yourself. Yeah, so it is about like taking care for the inner light and not communicating, because it is a situation where you cannot convince others, but it's just taking care, being faithful with what is your inner truth. And this is something that needs to be like preserved in a situation, in this kind of situation. And of course, maybe this is touching something that you experienced maybe in your life, that sometimes situations like this can happen. On the other side, and this is something very specific, I was talking about the tension of the opposites. And I said you had the 64 hexagrams of the book, and the 64 hexagrams are performed through yin and yang lines. This means a broken line and a continuous line. The yin line is the broken line, and the yang line is the continuous line. And these lines perform the hexagram, but also the hexagram is defined through the so-called trigrams. And the trigrams are 8 trigrams. I cannot explain this now, it's not enough time, but these 8 trigrams, they perform the 64 hexagrams also, the combination of the 8 trigrams. And in this short introduction, I want to show you something specific. And this is also how the book works with the energies, the working and the active energies. Since all these images are not only images, they are highly alive, active, energetic images. You know, this. When you look on the lines, it's not that these are stable lines like in a sign or in something. You always have to keep in mind that yin and yang are very dynamic aspects. And the idea of yin and yang is always, and this is the old definition of yin and yang, that you have a mountain. And in the morning, the east side is in the sun and the west side is in the shadow. Of course, everybody of you knows. But when the earth is wandering around the sun, the same side of the mountain is in the evening, in the sun, and in the morning, in the shadow. Yeah, and this is the concept of yin and yang, that yin is slowly turning into yang, and yang is slowly turning into yin. Yeah, this is a dynamic process on one hand, and on the other hand, this is also an order. This is an order of our universe, that one begets the other. So this is the idea of yin and yang, and this is also always the idea you find in the hexagrams, how the energies work. And when you think about the energy of heaven and earth, yeah, when you go into a short imagination and you think about Earth and the quality of Earth, then I think we all would say that Earth is, the energy of Earth is like going down, and the energy of heaven is like going up. Yeah, I think this is everybody of us knows. So the idea is what happens when you have the trigram of Earth and when you have the trigram of the heaven, of the sky. So when we think about this, how we experience this in normal nature, of course, Earth is below and heaven is above. And this is how the normal image is. But from an energetic point of view, there is something extremely interesting. And this I want to show you now in the very short presentation, because when we think about Earth below and heaven above, this is harmony for us. Yeah, this is how it is. But from the point of view of the I Ching, you see something else. And this is, I show you here. I hope I have now the correct presentation. Okay, you can see it already?
Yes.
Okay, so let me go down. You see, this is the trigram of heaven. It's 3 young lines. And the energy, I did this blue flash, the energy is going up. Yeah, normal. And this is the trigram of Earth. So the energy is going down, is normal. So when we think about what is in harmony, we would think Earth above and heaven below. So this is this here, Earth below and heaven above. But from the point of a view of energy, you see that the energies are drifting apart. And so in the I Ching, this hexagram is the hexagram number 12, and this means the split and the standstill. Because when you think about in this energetic dynamic, heaven is going up, Earth is going down, and then at the end, in between, there will be nothing. And this is the explanation of the standstill. Yeah. So what seems to be like harmonious, really working very well, being in contact with each other, is at the end, from the understanding of the I Ching, something that is drifting apart and is not in contact with each other. And vice versa, from the point and the understanding of the I Ching, when heaven is below and Earth is above, you see, Earth is above, the energy is going down, heaven is below, the energy is going up, there is contact. And this is the image of peace, yeah? Because there, the elements, heaven and earth, are in harmony with each other. But let's say from our understanding, it's a situation upside down. And this is something extremely important about the I Ching. It is like to come in contact with what is the truth of a situation, in which what is the starting of a situation. It is like looking where are the energies and where do the energies meet. And in which way, and this is what I want to conclude now at the end of my introduction, this is, let's say, the art or the capacity of the active eye, how the active eye can manage to be in accord, in contact with the energies. With the energies that are constellated in a situation, or how can you bring in a specific attitude that is influencing the energy that is working in a situation in a way that a conflict situation turns out to be more appropriate, let's say like this. I can also say healing, and also more supportive to find a solution for a conflict that is constellated within you or within the relationships you are in. And all this happens with a synchronistic tool, because it's about throwing the coins or throwing the yarrow sticks. And so interesting enough, there's the question, why can you use coins to come in touch with a certain energy that helps you to understand the specific aspect of a situation? Well, there is the understanding of, there is this certain order the I Ching knows, and we are part of a certain order. Sometimes it seems to be chaotic for us, but at the end, it is the wisdom and the knowledge of that we are a part of a universal order that is always existing. So from the point of view of the I Ching, there is no chaos. The only thing that is chaotic is that we are not in contact with this universal order. And the I Ching is going to help to come again into contact with this universal order and with this law of how the energies, and especially these complementary opposites of yin and yang work and correspond with each other. So these are 30 minutes I Ching.
Thank you, Ursula. That was very short and tough, one can say. So as usual, please put your questions into the chat box, then we can go through it and put the question to Ursula. I have some questions concerning the last or the heaven and earth hexagrams. If we reverse the natural order, then we have the energy to change something. Can we interpret it like that? If
we cannot change. The idea of the I Ching is either we are in contact with these universal energies and how they work, and then we are in a more or less beneficial situation, or we are outside of this because, by example, because we want to change the energies or somehow, and then we are not in accord, we are not in a contact with the, let's say, natural flow of it, and this makes a feeling of feeling alienated, feeling disconnected until having like a symptom of feeling ill and really not in contact. So from the point of view of the I Ching, this does not work.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a question by Steve Myers. I would be interested in Ursula's view on the similarities and differences between I Ching and Rorschach's ink blots. I realize there may be a lot, so perhaps just a couple of key points.
So I have to, what is Rorschach's and then?
Rorschach test.
Okay. Yeah, there is, this is what I wanted to say at the end of my introduction. The I Ching says at the end, it doesn't matter from which side you go into the lake or into the river. It's like what Heraclit says. It is like just when you are in a situation, go in, and then the situation will show you its relevance and its importance. And this is the same with a Rorschach test. It shows something. It's totally synchronistic, but it's related to the proper situation. And maybe this I forgot to say in my introduction. The proper situation always has to do something with the kairos. And the kairos is the moment and the quality in the moment. And this is what is really relevant. By example, if you ask the I Ching today and you ask the same question tomorrow, could be that you will get a different answer, but could also be otherwise. So it is important that you see, this is the situation now, this is the kairos now, and this kairos has a specific quality. And also this is what the I Ching refers to show you what is the quality now, you know? it's a very easy, simple explanation. When you want to harvest your garden in the night, it's not the proper moment to do that, no? So every activity has its time, and also the I Ching is related with the quality of time.
To this question, one comes to my mind is talking about astrology. Can one say that astrology is the Western I Ching?
I don't know, because I'm not so deeply, I use astrology, but I'm really not a specialist in. But what I see where the difference is, astrology is, the I Ching is specifically talking about, I can show you what is the quality of a beginning of a situation. I don't know if if astrology can do the same. I think this is a difference. And also you use the I Ching also in a different way. The I Ching is not giving a chart or map, although there is existing something like this. But what the I Ching is really doing is showing you have a question in the moment, and is showing you what is relevant in this specific moment and how the situation can develop. And I think this is also a specific difference to astrology.
There's a question from Harris M. And maybe you have asked the I Ching, Ursula, already. What does the I Ching say about the Corona situation?
Well, you know, one of the specific aspects of the I Ching is that the I Ching usually sees the chance in a situation. And when I was working with the I Ching during Corona situation, the I Ching was strongly talking about the unus mundus. And I can only make it short, but Corona has to do with the breath. And with the breath, we are connected with the world and with the universe, you know. And the breath, all human beings, beside cultural and religious and whatever political differences, but we all breathe. Mm-hmm. And we have one world, and we share one world together. And one aspect of this situation, the I Ching was pointing out with the hexagram 56, the wanderer. And this is how we are walking, and how we are, let's say, busy and also connected in the world. And that we need to understand better that this is unus mundus, where we are all connected, not only physically, but with our breath, and especially, we Jungians know, psychologically. And the I Ching was much more pointing out that what seemed to be a problem in another continent, also political problem. In former times, we thought, okay, this is a problem in America, it's not touching us. And the I Ching was strongly pointing out that the experience we all have to make is to see that we are connected. So this was an aspect of the I Ching on this crisis.
There's an interesting question from Zina Ries. When we are asking the I Ching, we usually don't know what to do or how to handle a situation. Are we children asking the all-knowing parent?
Yeah, somehow yes. It is really that the I Ching says, well, I have the bigger experience, and I have the bigger knowledge that grew over centuries. And of course, when we ask a question, we are always like in an immature situation. And what Sina says there is really touching this aspect of individuation, that you can use the I Ching really to gain a more mature, a more responsible, but also a more active way of how to be connected and related with specific situations. Yeah, And this is also where you can really see the I Ching as an important person you are going into conversation, into contact with.
You talked earlier in your talk about the collective unconscious. Is the parent the collective unconscious, or is it more like God?
Well, you know, the concept of the collective unconscious is a bit difficult because the I Ching is not so much, the I Ching does not know the concept of the unconscious. Yeah, the concept of the unconscious is not existing in the I Ching. The I Ching is, and also the I Ching is not talking about the consciousness. The I Ching talks about experience and talks about an order. In the I Ching and says, and I can describe this order, and in the I Ching is in the books we have, there is in between, there is a big commentary, and there this order is, there's a description about this order, which is highly interesting. It's incredibly interesting. And so the I Ching says it doesn't matter whether you are conscious or unconscious. This is a problem we have. It is how you are going into contact with the situation. And this is for the I Ching something that is somehow, let's say, obvious that the I Ching can explain. So therefore, the I Ching is not talking about the collective unconscious. The I Ching talks about something it can explain. And about God, of course, for us, it has a spiritual dimension, but not so much for the I Ching. The I Ching is also not talking about God, but it's talking about universal laws. Yeah, and this can bring for us a spiritual experience.
Amanda Horn has asked, do you use the I Ching in your work with patients?
Well, yeah, but not so much. Because usually the patients, when they come, they don't know that I'm a specialist in I Ching, and you know, many people don't know it. So sometimes I use it, but I remember in the first interview I had with Stefano, I gave this example. It was a woman, and she was in a deep crisis, and she was thinking about separating from her husband, and with her, I did the I Ching because I had a feeling that this projection on separating from her husband because he did not give enough attention to her was something that was related with a deep unconscious conflict of being abandoned when she was a child. And she could not come in touch with that. And there were also no dreams. And, you know, there were no dreams, and I had no idea how she could paint this because she was completely convinced that this is the problem. The husband is not giving attention and she has to leave this marriage now. And with her, I did the I Ching. And with her, there was then this, by the way, there came this standstill, and with the standstill, she could come into contact with this mourning process that was absolutely necessary. And at the end, it was not about breaking up.
Yeah.
So with that, so sometimes I do, but I'm working more with groups. For example, next in November, I'm going to Lindau. There will be the whole week I Ching in Lindau. And I'm doing for the alumni. I'm doing now an I Ching seminar, so I do it in seminars.
Philip Cavalli asks, when using the oracle to verbalize the initial question is fundamental. What do you think about regular divination sessions? So, for instance, part of morning rituals, where the question is not verbalized or written, but the question is the continuous stream of daily divination itself. Not quite sure what that means.
Yeah, I try to answer. I hope I get it. So this is something very interesting. And this, I think, is the difference to divination practices. When you work with the I Ching, it is very important to give a lot of attention to asking the good question. And it's not for the I Ching, but for us. Since the I Ching is answering with an image, it's important that we can understand the image. And since we are human beings and we need, let's say, like a mental approach to what we want to know and what we need to reflect, we need to formulate a question. And the more precisely we are about our situation we are in, the better we can understand the image, the answer we get from the I Ching. And this is also why I, by example, like to do the I Ching in the group, because in the group, I always have this method that somebody is talking about a conflict, a situation, something that is putting him under stress, whatever. And then I ask this person to formulate a question for himself. But I'm also then asking the group to formulate a question for the person. And so this is then very interesting. Then it is like that you get a panopticon of many different aspects of the situation this person is in. And very often this person feels very enriched and also like gifted from by the others because of these aspects. And then at the end, we come also to, let's say, like a composition out of the questions everybody did. And then the one who is asking the I Ching has like a new, let's say, renewed and reflected question. And this is always very fruitful to do that. And also I have to say, you know, when you do the I Ching, and it depends on the situation you are in. But usually when you are in a conflict, you are deeply in the complex. And when you are in the complex, of course, then you're unconscious. And when you're unconscious, it's difficult to ask a question.
Right.
So this is, so it is very helpful to come to the question in the group.
Caitlin Stevens has a question. Which English translation of the I Ching do you recommend?
Yes, I usually work with Richard Wilhelm's translation. This is really the old translation. Because, you know, there is a very nice story with Richard Wilhelm. And this was that, this is really an important aspect. The I Ching was in a great risk. It was at the end of the 19th century, beginning 20th centuries, when the wars, the Boxer War, were in China. And already people saw that this last emperor, this last dynasty will probably collapse, or I don't know what is the word better, yeah, or finish. And they were really expecting, because there were several political movements, and as you know, and they were afraid that the Confucian classics could get lost. Mm-hmm. And historically, China, like Japan, they were very closed in sharing their culture. But since Richard Wilhelm was so deeply going into Chinese culture, and maybe you know, he was a missionary, a Protestant missionary, and he went as a missionary to China. But he said after 25 years that he was proud that he never baptized the Chinese, since he went into Chinese culture and he took a great profit and benefit from this being in this culture. So he was somehow chosen by some, let's say, highly educated intellectual people who said, this could be a person who can help us saving the I Ching. So he got in, they made contact with him. And so he did this big work of translating the I Ching into German, and then he translated it back And this is the only version where you have fore and back translation, and you have to consider the I Ching, and this I Ching he got is not in modern Chinese, it was classical Chinese, and classical Chinese is really something different. So Richard Wilhelm was not, he was then a sinologist, and there are some issues about his translations where they are critical, but the I Ching, there he really tried to make a profound work of translating the classical text into German and back. And so the English translation of the German version is still something I use. But there is also another book, and this is a book I like a lot. And this is Jack Balkin's Laws of Change. It's Jack Balkin, The Laws of Change. And Jack Balkin is a professor of law in Harvard. And he's, you know, I don't know, his hobby or whatever it was, he worked with the I Ching, and he took a sabbatical and did his commentary on the English text of the I Ching. And it's a very nice commentary. It's a nice book to work with. And then, of course, there is an American sinologist. His name is Robert Smith. Robert, oh my God. Yeah, no, Robert Smith. Oh, I lost, I think Robert Smith, yeah. Maybe Bridget is there. I saw Bridget Vance, she knows. Yeah, so his name is Robert Smith. Fathoming the Past. This is a very famous book he wrote, and also there you find important information about the I Ching. It's a marvelous work also. So this I recommend.
Franco Enrico is asking, is there any value in tracking readings over a period of time relating to an ongoing situation?
Yeah. This is always, you know, you can make many nice experiences with a book. And this is, by example, you can have a specific situation, and this situation is going to accompany you throughout a period of time. By example, you have a specific position. Ja, danke, Paul found it. Richard J. Smith, yeah, thank you. By example, you are in a specific professional position, and well, you have responsibilities, whatever, and it is as you are wanting to have somebody at your side helping you to reflect in which specific situation you are in with the circumstances around your job. And then it could be very interesting to periodically ask the I Ching to problems, to what you want to know, whatever. And then it's like starting a dialogue with the I Ching about this specific topic, let's say your professional questions. And also there you can see how it develops and how the I Ching is showing in which specific challenges you are with this, let's say, always similar situation. I hope this was the answer on the question. But so this is something you can do. There's also something important. Usually we are curious about when we have to make a decision. You know, it is about whether I should take this job or not. And usually the answer is, if you are asking this question already, you better should not take that job because you're doubting. So you see, the more intelligent question is why I am doubting about that, or what are my doubts about the job. And also much more better is the question, what for am I doubting? Because then you also take your doubts for serious, because the doubts are important. Mm-hmm. And there you also see the quality of the question, because you can ask the I Ching about the why. But the why is sometimes not very fruitful. Yeah, why am I sitting here? Yeah, because I'm an expert in I Ching and you are interested in is very, yeah. But what for am I sitting here? This is maybe something much more interesting. And since the I Ching is talking about the beginning of a situation, the what for, or the what about, or the specific characteristic is sometimes much more interesting.
Paul has a question. The I Ching and Taoism are based on such large forces of light and dark. When we see these ideas, we become aware of larger forces. We had that already. Is that part of what is useful here? Not just a specific answer, but a larger frame? Does that relate to analysis?
Yeah, absolutely. It is really, I like the word frame here. Because the frame, this is what happens in analysis, you know, that first of all, you open the space and you make, let's say, like, you make obvious and you make alive what is in the room and also what is probably hidden behind the curtain. And also this can happen with the I Ching. And what is happening then also in analysis, that you help sometimes to find a new attitude or another position on relevant questions in your life. So somehow we are reframing, yeah, the situation you are in newly. This is what we do in analysis, beside of being a good guide and beside of giving good support and helping to, let's say, individuate. And all this the I Ching is doing. It's just like helping you to accept that there are specific aspects of a situation that can enrich your point of view. And also to see that this is in the area of what is reachable for you. Because often people, they feel excluded, they feel like incapable, they feel like not reaching out for something they really can do. And the I Ching shows, well, these are the aspects that are surrounding you. And this is a part of your system. And the I Ching can help you to make it available for you, understandable and available for you, like we do in analysis. Yeah, and this is this is also the inspiring aspect of the I Ching. And sometimes you get an answer and then the answer could be weird or difficult to understand, and you need 2-3 days until you approach to it. Yeah, and it's like in analysis, when you think about what was this the analyst said to me, totally was not related to what I did or what I said, so there's some disappointment, but then after a couple of days you get it. And this is the same with the I Ching.
Sina has another one. The changing lines can be quite strong, either saying you succeed or you are doomed. What is a good way to digest these strong messages from the changing lines?
Yeah, thank you very much about giving this information of the changing lines, because I did not do in my introduction. Well, the changing lines is the definition is that when you have the hexagram and you see the changing line, this is a situation where the situation is turning to something new or something other. And this is also the situation where you see there is the most energy, or let's say the highest activity. And well, I think even if you get a very strong changing line that can put you under an emotional, maybe pressure or emotional, maybe let's say emotional pressure. On one hand, the I Ching would never bring you something that you cannot manage. It's like with the dreams. Even if the dream is very strong, at the end, it's coming from your psyche. And this is the same. It might be challenging, and it might be something that is really difficult to accept also. But the more you feel under pressure with what you got, the more it shows how, and now it's a philosophical approach, the more it shows how far you are from the Tao. And this is the Chinese concept of there is a flow, there is like an inherent flow of energy. And the more you are alienated from, the more pressure you have because of the answer of the I Ching. And the more necessary it is to, let's say, to find your way back to yourself and what is meant for yourself. Yeah, so this is...
Harris has another question in that direction. Are dreams the better oracle than the I Ching?
Well, neither dreams nor the I Ching are really oracles. Because the dreams show different aspects and in symbolic images about the proper situation you are in. Either they are compensating or either they are like challenging you, whatever. And the dreams very often show this, where the dream ego, what is happening to the dream ego. So this means whether you are capable within the situation you're in or not. And this is not an oracle. This is like a description of just saying, showing where you are. And the I Ching does the same. The only thing the I Ching is doing, showing what I said, there are the relevant aspects you can emphasize on. And this is, by the way, also the freedom we have. Because sometimes we feel so determined and captured. I use the word again, captured about a situation that we think we have no freedom anymore. But the I Ching always shows the freedom you have. But this could be in the sense of Wu Wei, is another philosophical aspect of the not handling, not being active, that you can say, okay, this is a situation and my decision is now not to act, not to interfere. And this is also an answer to what Sina Rees was asking. Sometimes you can get something with a strong energy, but it's your decision to say, well, I don't go into acting out this energy. I take this energy and I manage this energy inside without acting. And this is about the I Ching, about what the I Ching is talking. Yeah.
Maybe a last question from my side, touching that what I said in my intro. Can you say something about the relationship between I Ching, constellation work, and analytical psychology?
Mm-hmm. So when I look on it from the energetic point of view, I said the I Ching is working with energies. The art of doing analysis is also, when I see it from the point of view of an analyst, then you have to deal with many aspects of energy in analysis, because it makes a great difference whether you mention something or not, or whether you put the focus on one thing or on the other thing. This is a high therapeutical relevance, what you do. Or whether, to go back to the question before with a dream, whether you discuss a dream with a patient and there are aspects where you think, well, this is maybe an information for me, which I keep in mind, and I'm not focusing on this, but I'm, for example, focusing more on the dream ego. So there also you work somehow with energies. But since we are in a participation mystique also with our patients, sometimes we miss relevant energies, or we are identified too much with the energy of a patient. And this can be somehow critical. And in the constellation work, there you can get a bit better the hidden energy that is working. And this is the same also with the I Ching, that you get the hidden energy that is constellated and working. And that helps at the end to come back to the Tao, to come back to being really connected with yourself and with the situation. Yeah. So this sometimes can be critical in analysis, and this you get, let's say, easier or better with the I Ching, and maybe also sometimes, if you understand it, easier with constellation work.
Thank you very much, Ursula, for that enlightened talk. I must say, I'm really grateful we had you here. Yes. One last notice, we all meet at the November 10th. It will be Stefano, our Stefano, who will give a talk about the Agenda 2050 for analytical psychology. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for listening to me.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. Thank you.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.